It's your boy Girl here, back with another video, and today I got a special video for you guys, man. Today we're gonna be back with talking about Tournament Power, bro. Not gonna lie, they dropped the news section about future updates to Tournament Power, and I make Tournament Power content. You don't really see a lot of people doing that as a Dragon Ball Legends creator, so I'm like, hey, it affects me, right? So I'm gonna talk about this news. I'm gonna talk about the things that I was thinking about and everything like that. If you guys enjoy these type of videos or just my channel, subscribe to the channel. Road to 17K. And comment down below how you feel about the changes and stuff. There might be things that I might not even been thinking about, but let's get straight into this news. So we're gonna read it here. It says, well, at first I was gonna talk about this, but I was gonna do it on like my part one of my season. But then I seen some comments like, yo, like Ruff, you should make your own separate video about this. I was like, let's do it. So you guys see here, it says this fall, because this fall they're making some big changes with Legends. They got the support system. Like this is one of the things I know they did, one of the AI, like the user interface thing. So there's like a nice little update coming soon for Legends, and it looks like the Tournament Power will be major overhaul. So let's talk about the three sections that they kind of talk about. First is removal of Tournament Power specific abilities and arts effects from all characters. Let's read it. I know Dragon Ball Legends don't like to read, Dragon Ball fans don't like to read, but let's read. This will be a significant change, although the format and description of characters' abilities and standard battles have been updated to be more concise. Understanding them remains no easy task. Having to understand Tournament Power abilities in addition to those standard abilities create a high barrier of entry. Removing the Tournament Power specific abilities and artifact will reduce the amount of ability information displayed for each character and streamline the gameplay experience. Although this will remove certain strategic elements, we plan to compensate for it by adjusting existing gameplay elements like how stats are boosted based on team member placements. So, based on what I'm interpreting on this, is if you look at a character, right? Let's say, for example, we go to any character. Basically, let's go to Vegeta, right? You see here on Vegeta, they have a regular stats, they have TOP stats. So, basically what I'm assuming is they're going to remove this whole TOP stats tab thing and remove all of these ability stuff. And when I first read that part, I totally understand what they're talking about, because if you was to ask anybody, like just a regular Legends player, like why don't they play TOP, like one of it is like I don't understand the mode. It's already difficult to understand a lot of the new units, kits. Like say you're facing Ultra Vegeta, you got to remember his kit. You're going to see him a lot. Ultra Namegoku, Ultra Frieza, Krillin. You got to remember all these people's kits on PvP, and that's a lot to understand. They had a huge overhaul in March or whenever they made that update to simplify the description of their abilities. And then you have to think about Tournament Power. There's times where I'm like, I forgot what this character does, right? And I constantly play it. So think about like a regular player, and they're like, what does hit do in Tournament of Power? Then you got to go back and read his kit, and then you got to remember, all right, turn 3 he gets extra boost, and then turn 4 he does this. It's a lot, and people are like, bro, I'm not finna learn Tournament Power. And I totally agree. It's one of the reasons why people don't even play it. Like, it's one of the reasons why it was hard for people to play PvP that was newcomer, because they got to understand all this new lingo. So if PvP is the main thing and Tournament Power is just a PvE thing, and you have to learn the lingo of Tournament Power as well, that's a lot to remember. So I totally understand that. I understand on their point. And plus, every time they create a character, event exclusive, it could be a regular Spartan, Ultra, they have to design abilities for TOP as well. They can't just do PvP abilities. They also have to think about Tournament Power. So that's a lot of extra resources that they're putting into a mode that a lot of people don't really care about compared to PvP, and just a lot of resources and energy on that. So I understand why they removed the whole thing. For sure, I definitely agree with that. And that's one of the biggest things, is having to learn TOP stuff. It's one of the reasons why people just say like, bro, I just idle it, bro, just whatever, because it's just too time consuming. It's too time consuming to understand the abilities, and then you're trying to remember it. That's tough. That's tough. All right, so then looking at here, so they look like they're removing that whole thing based on what I'm reading. And it says, although this removes certain strategic elements, we plan to compensate it by adjusting existing gameplay elements like how stats are boosted based on team member placements. I don't understand that completely, but basically they're saying, like, say for example, someone might rock LF Piccolo or Boo Tanks, for example, on TOP because they have a guaranteed blue card. So when you remove that, you're kind of removing the value of LF Piccolo and Boo Tanks. There's some units that's really powerful because of that. Like Super Baby 2, he heals every turn. So I'm curious to see what they mean by existing gameplay elements, like how stats are boosted based on team member placements. I'm really curious to see. They need to go more in depth on that, but that's gonna be interesting because there's some characters that I keep on my team because they can generate blue cards pretty fast. I love Piccolo every turn, every fight. Boo Tanks every fight. CMZ is like every other fight. So I'm curious to see what they mean by adjusting it by existing gameplay elements, like how stats are boosted based on team member placements. I have to really see it to understand it for real. Removal of tier bonuses. We will remove tier bonuses calculated from usage rates for each season and instead give an advantage to specific tags or episodes each season. Now, I think this might be the biggest thing that a lot of people are probably like mad about is this one. Tier bonuses, like I said, every season, based off on how many people uses that tag, they readjust characters. So if you have a lot of characters, if there's a tag, for example, that didn't get a lot, that's been used a lot, you might not see a lot of them being used the next season because they don't want people to keep using that tag. So then they might buff. Say Unireps was popular. They have a lot of good Z tier units. Making that means that you can have a high score, so you're guaranteed higher CC rewards amount. But then if they take a lot of those characters out of the Z tier, S tier boost, it's gonna be hard to get that high points with Unireps again. Then they might buff movies, and then movies get a lot of love. So that's basically what they're kind of saying here. They're gonna remove all that, and they give advantage to specific tags or episodes each season. My take on this is pretty interesting. One, you're kind of removing old EXs, the value of old EXs, value of old Sparkings, which I think is not bad. It's not a bad idea because you're running a risk of running those old characters and they die. You're kind of putting a lot of trust in them to survive because they're the one that's going to carry most of your points. But the thing that I'm interested in is them removing the tier bonus and they're giving it to specific tags each season. Me personally, I think they have been doing this, but they just didn't say it. I'm gonna explain it. So, beginning of this anniversary, the 7th anniversary, they buffed Unireps. If you guys remember, for the people that did play Unireps, out of nowhere, Unireps had like so many characters in the Z tier, and it got so bad where Unireps inflated the points because everyone used them because there was just so many. They had so many good characters in the Z tier spot. They had Sparking Kaba. They had like really solid Sparking characters and good EX characters on the Z tier, and they inflated it so high. They inflated the points so high that the typical points for you to reach the 1,000, the 1.6k CCs, it was way higher than we ever seen it before because they just buffed Unireps. They gave love to Unireps. And then after that, the next season, I don't have Saiyan Saga, all the Saiyan Saga characters, but then out of nowhere, Saiyan Saga, a lot of the good Saiyan Saga characters were Z tier, if I remember correctly. Then after that, it was like Namek Saga. So like then they started to buff. It wasn't really Namek Saga, but they really started to show love with LOE. The LOE campaign, all the good LOE characters was high tier. You kind of seen movies in LOE because of Cooler and Frieza, so they kind of wanted to do LOE, Frieza Force, and movies. So I felt like they've been doing this. It's just that they haven't said it, and I've been noticing that. So the fact that they're taking out the tier bonus is going to be interesting, and I'm curious to see how big of a deal, how big of an advantage that each tag is going to get, or episode they're going to get each season. Like for example, does GT, say for example they introduced this now, does GT gets like a crazy amount of love or a lot of bonus where if you're rocking androids, like it gets to the point where you have to rock GT to get yourself that, like, to guarantee you the 1.6k CCs. Is it where if I rock region where GT is getting a lot of love, like even if I did my absolute best with the region tag, I get up to only 800 CC because they're not getting that much boost points. Like, how big of an advantage the boosted teams, the boosted tags, and episodes are going to get each season? That's the thing that scares me, because if that's the case, then someone that's paid to win is going to have a better, is going to like tournament power, because they have good teams for each multiple tags. One thing that I've always praised, I always preached to you guys, was focusing on one tag, focusing on two tags, because you can still constantly get top rankings with, as long as you invest your resources, TOP equips, Zenkai, Arch Boost, all that friendship level 10, all that stuff. And I've been rocking region forever. And I've always made it to get the 1.6k CCs every season, despite them giving love to Unireps or all these other tags that they started to do. I could still get the 1.6k CCs with region, as long as you can find a solid Z and S tier characters, like 3 of them, you will be fine. Now I'm just curious to see that the fact that they did this, like, are they gonna give them a way bigger boost? Is it like, all right, you rock Movie Saga this season because we're trying to buff Broly and Janemba and stuff. If you rock movies, you're guaranteed a 1.6k, and if you rock like Saiyan Saga, that's one of your best teams as a free-to-play person. Is it virtually impossible to get the highest amount of rewards for it? That's the thing that I'm worried about. And I feel like they are going to do it. And I feel like the people that are free-to-play are going to get hoed by this for sure. I think you guys, you're going to feel it for sure. And I think the people that spends the game or has the most amount of, has a vast majority of tags, they're going to be able to adjust to each season's better than someone that doesn't spend the game to spend that much money on the game, or just doesn't have a lot of the tags, a lot of the good tags. Someone might invest a lot in androids and LOE, but then next thing you know, it's hybrids, and like, they suffer from that because they don't have enough CCs to get all the good hybrids characters. So now they suffer a lack of CCs that season. And remember, like, free-to-play people, they need as much CC as possible. That's why people still kind of watch Tournament Power, like a lot of free-to-play people do, because they need to get as much CCs so they can summon on their favorite character. And Tournament Power per month is probably the most CCs you can get with the least amount of time. If you make a good team, you can get 3.2k CCs per month. There's no other mode that's giving more CCs than Tournament Power. That's why people still care about it. It's because of the rewards. So the fact that you're doing this is going to hurt a lot of the free-to-play people. And like I said, I have a feeling they're going to give a huge boost to these tags. I feel like the fact that they're saying it now, I feel like they are. And I feel like the free-to-play players are going to suffer from this. I feel like it's going to be a big boost. That's what I feel like it's going to be a big boost, man. So I just wanted to say that. One thing I'm also curious about is the tier bonuses. Is everyone just going to be rocking the C tier bonuses? I mean, if you take out the tier bonus, that means there's really no point in me rocking LF Piccolo. There's no point in me rocking EX, the old EXL, EX Metal Cooler. I might as well just rock my all the Ultra Regen characters together, all the LFs. Why would I rock a regular Sparking character no more? They really don't have no value to me, because the Ultras and the LFs, they're going to have better kits. Why would I rock EX Yellow Piccolo anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like, I use them because he's using the S and Z tier. There's no point in me rocking those old characters. All I can do is just rock the newer Ultras and the newer LFs and just combine them into one team. So I'm curious to see how that goes, right? Like, if they're buffing, if they was to buff like Unireps, for example, I could just rock UI and Evo Vegeta and Ultra Hit and all the high premium characters instead of the the older ones because they really don't got no value if you take off the tier bonus and you just focus on a specific tag or episode. Then I'm just gonna rock the best characters, and all the best characters are going to be in the C tier spots. So I'm curious about that. And then the last thing here is fewer stages, but up to 2 attempts. The current number of stages will be reduced, but you'll be able to make a second attempt after completing your first. If you earn a higher score in the second attempt, it will overwrite your previous score. You will not be required to play through the second time. This change will allow players to adjust their characters and teams to aim for a high score. And that's basically, how they say that we apologize for inconvenience and stuff. So this one scares a lot of people is because a lot of people are thinking, if you're going to take less stages, are you going to reduce the amount of CCs? And they kind of are referring to like how Zenkai USTR, where they removed the CCs from that. A lot of people are nervous that if they reduce the stage amount, instead of 25 stages, since you're investing more time each stage to complete for the higher points, if you do fewer stages, or they're going to reduce the amount of CCs and rewards as well. Me personally, I have no clue, but they give you 2 attempts. I don't know. I think they're going to keep it that way, or hopefully they don't change the amount of CCs you get, but a lot of people have been thinking about that way. Hopefully they don't, because now you got 2 attempts you can do 2 attempts compared to just only 1, even though it's less stages. I think the reason why I think I like this is, 1, less time. You don't have to be on tournament power. And then the reason why I like this is, second attempt, I could try out another team and not really be stressed out about it. Like there's times where I do want to try another team, but I don't want to risk me having a bad score one season because I want to try uni reps and I don't really understand everyone's abilities. So I think like the second attempt thing is pretty nice because I can be like, all right, I actually want to understand the LOE team for tournament power or androids, and I don't have to get penalized. Even if I get a lower score compared to my region team, it'll be fine, because it's not going to hurt me. It can only help me. So I like that for a content creator, because then I can really understand the perspective of each team and how to really rock them on certain situations. I like that. And fewer stages, you don't have to worry about 25 stages. You can maybe just focus on 12, and you would just be done. You'd be done with the mode and go about your day. So yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing about this update thing. Like I said, I think removing the abilities would be pretty interesting. I think they can focus on more important things for the game. Maybe about bugs, maybe about other stuff, instead of constantly have to think about TOP abilities for certain characters and stuff, which I totally understand. I'm curious to see about the stats boosted based on team member. I would like to see an example of that. The tier bonus thing is going to be interesting. That's the one I'm most concerned about. I'm just curious to see how big of a pay to win that is for people, because I think a lot of people not liked it, but you could deal with it, because as long as you had a solid team and you kind of knew what you were doing, you can still reach high placements despite being a free-to-play player. So hopefully it's not to the point where they're constantly changing the tags each season drastically, where people that spends money that has more variety of teams compared to a free-to-play player, they reap the rewards way more. Hopefully it's not that big of a deal, but that's the one that I'm most concerned of, is the tier bonus and how they're giving love and advantages to specific tags and episodes each season. Even though I feel like they've already did that, they've already been doing that. They're saying it now. So I think they've been starting to do that around the 7th anniversary. I noticed that, but we'll see. And then remember, there was a time when once uni reps stopped getting love, like that next season, all those units were in C tier because everyone used them. So be mindful of that. And then the fewer stages, I think is okay. Less time to be on TOP. And then if you want to learn a different tag, you can, and it won't hurt you. So yeah, that's pretty much it with my vid. For all the people that does play if you guys are spenders, if you guys are free-to-play players, if you guys, people rely on TOP to stock up their CCs. I don't really spend that much money on the game like I used to, so TOP is a big deal to me too. Save for whatever Ultra. Now we know that Ultras has pity. People are gonna might take TOP serious. Like, all right, I'm missing out on 3.2k CCs max that I can use and save for like maybe Ultra MUI Goku. I just know that I just need to have like 42,000 CCs to get him if to pity now. But I could work on that, and TOP is the highest mode that gives the most CCs per month. So we'll see what the change is. I feel like, I don't know. Knowing Legends, I feel like it's gonna be worse than what it already is. But in terms of, I think the only thing they really should have just did was just remove the TOP abilities. I understand that, but I'm curious to see how they implement it. Like, what abilities are they gonna have? Like, how the game is gonna how the TOP mode is gonna function. Like, what abilities are they gonna base off? Is it gonna be PvP? Like, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand that last part, but. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's gonna hurt more than do good in terms of like CC rewards and making it more pay to win. But I understand it positively for the Legends side because they don't have to dump a lot more resources into the game, like calculating the users raids and changing it up each season, and then designing TOP kits for every unit that they add into the game and all that stuff. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and rough. I'm out.